I'm Alan. This is UCave. Is there a cave exploring season? When people ask, my blanket statement is the cave's always 54 degrees and dark, so no, not really. As long as you can get to the cave, we're good. By get to the cave, I mean the main roads, are they good? Secondary roads, and even some of the back roads, the gravel roads, are they good? One of the issues when it's a day like this, we've just gotten like 4 inches of snow. The temperature is 20 with a wind chill factor close to 0. Changing into gear can be a little bit difficult. And you have to walk all the way from where you get changed, the cave, get the cave unlocked, and then get inside the entrance before you really get cold. But once you're inside the cave, it's 54 degrees and 100% humidity, which, you know, most of the time that's not too bad, but when you're in the cave, you're going to get wet and muddy. And 54 degrees, it's not too bad because you keep moving. There's no air movement, so there is no wind chill factor. So it's easy to stay warm when you're inside the cave. But once we exit the cave, this is where the problems rise. If you could imagine, getting into the cave was kind of difficult, but now we're exiting the cave. We are wet, we are muddy, and we're stepping into a wind chill factor again of about 5 to 10 degrees, which is really cold. One of the tasks that we have to do is lock the cave back up. Once you take off your gloves, the gloves have been wet, your hands are really starting to get frostbite and it's starting to get cold. You have your helmet on, and most people don't have a hood on, and most people don't have a jacket, aren't going to put a coat over top of their dirty, muddy, wet coveralls, because then you got to wear that wet jacket in the car. It just can be messy. But anyway, you're wet, you're cold, and you got to lock the cave back up. Your fingers are starting to get frostbite, but you managed to get the cave locked up. Now we walk back to the cars, and it could be anywhere from like 100 yards to maybe a half a mile hike. 20-degree weather, 5 to 10 degree wind chill factor. We're wet and we're muddy. By the time we get back to the car, chances are your clothes are frozen. To you, they're frozen. This is one of the problems that happens, is that hypothermia starts to set in. Not just frostbite. Frostbite, yeah, it's going to be on your hands and you're going to be on your face, but now hypothermia is going to start setting in. A lot of the experienced cavers are okay working with this. They know what to do. They know to keep pushing forward. They know to get out of their wet clothes. They know to get into their dry clothes, and they know that they will start to warm up. Their body heat will warm them up. And getting into the car is a plus. Once you get the car running, get the heater going, and you can warm up inside the car. But if you have a group of kids, let's say 12 to 15 kids, and they're all trying to get changed at the same time, there's going to be some kids that are going to do okay. They're going to keep pushing forward, and they're going to get out of their wet clothes, and they're done first, and they're into their dry clothes, and they're into the car, and they're warming up. But then you get usually the younger kids who haven't done anything like this before. They're cold, and they start shutting down, and it's like, I don't want to move, but they have to move, and you got to try to make them move. So you got to get them out of their wet clothes and into some dry clothes, which it can be very, very difficult to talk them into doing. And if you don't get them out of their wet clothes and into their dry clothes really, really soon, hypothermia starts to set in, and that's when problems start to arise. Some of the things that I do take with me to make this process for me a little bit easier are a couple of old wool blankets. If you can find something like that, that's great. If you have your plastic bag, you wrap it around you, that's going to help you stay warm. If you have a buddy and you wrap your plastic bags around each other, 2 plastic bags with 2 people, you stay even warmer while other people are getting changed. This is one way to deal with it. A lot of times younger kids are kind of reluctant to do this, and they still continue to shut down. So when people ask, is there a cave exploring season? Sometimes in the wintertime, it's not so good to go cave exploring, especially with younger kids. I try to do it mostly in the spring, and the fall, and the summer. During the winter, it's okay with smaller groups, usually older kids that know what to do. So if you are thinking about a cave exploring trip, to take into consideration is if you want to book a trip for the wintertime, keep a careful eye on the weather because sometimes it can change. And like this past weekend, we had wind chills down to 5, and that would have been very, very cold. But next weekend, it's going to be up in the 50s. We can do that. Remember, to cave safely, cave softly, and cave often.